Hello and welcome to Ethan's Guitar Room. My name is Ethan and this video is all about my guitar room. If this is your first time watching one of my videos, hope you enjoy and check out some more. I have recently rearranged a lot of things in this room, so I thought this would be a perfect time to do a studio tour kind of thing. But before I start showing you around, just going to tell you a little backstory. This is just a room in my basement. I bought this house almost 5 years ago, and for a while I had a roommate, so I was using a small extra bedroom upstairs as my guitar room. And with my guitars on the wall and a couple amps, the room was already starting to feel crowded, so naturally I started dreaming of bigger things. After my roommate moved out, the first thing was getting this basement updated a bit. It had some really old carpet. The walls were kind of an ugly yellow tan color. So I repainted everything and had the carpet replaced. That made a drastic difference in this room. It looks a lot better in here now. The one thing that I kind of neglected was baseboard trim. So you'll see as I show you around the room that I just don't have baseboard trim. I pulled out the old stuff when I was getting ready to paint because it wasn't installed very well, and by the time I got the carpet in, I just wanted to start moving all my stuff in here. And now I'm kind of at the point where I have too much stuff in here that I don't want to move just to have some baseboard trim installed. Who cares? So the first step to moving into here was getting my guitar rack moved. I did have this same guitar rack upstairs. When I installed it in this room, I had to drill into the concrete behind the drywall, and let's just say there's no chance my guitar rack is going to fall off the wall. So with the guitars on the wall, moved my couple of amps that I had in, and I got some acoustic treatment panels. And the set that I got is the Prime Acoustic London 12 room kit. That kit is supposed to be for a room approximately 150 square feet, which is pretty close to the size of this room. And there was not some scientific method to how I installed them. There was definitely some like treble ringing in this room with any kind of loud noise, and the acoustic treatment has deadened that. I basically just threw the bass traps in the corners, and with the rest of the panels, I measured like 1,000 times to make sure that everything was perfectly symmetrical from one side of the room to the other, and I just tried to disperse everything pretty much the whole way around the room, but my emphasis was kind of these three walls around like my workstation area. So with that, here's the tour. All right, so first thing coming in to the room, for all you critics, I know this door is installed backwards. I didn't do this. It's how I bought the house. And this is the back of the room that's kind of just become my junk storage area. So I have a bunch of random empty boxes, strings, patch cables on these shelves here, mic stand, random stuff in the corner. A little bit of room for some seating, and a tiny closet that's pretty much full of guitar cases. So now getting into the fun stuff. This is one of the things that's new. I got this small shelving unit for amp heads, and also a couple days ago got this Victory Copper Deluxe, which is pretty great. It's a Vox style amp with built-in tube-based tremolo and reverb. The middle shelf is a Marshall Origin 20. It's okay. It's the first tube amp I ever bought. It's good to run pedals through. It's not the best just on its own, but it gets the job done. And then little orange micro terror through my amp foot switches down here on the floor. And over here is a Fender Blues Junior. And over here next to the amps, I have this little cabinet that I built. It has space for 12 rack units. I have an old cassette machine sitting on top. It's not wired in right now. When I put it on the cabinet and angled it this way, my cables weren't long enough, so I got new cables. I'll have to redo that. And one of my favorite parts of this is that it now has my pedal board. Pedals are mounted on a drawer that's at a good working height for while I'm sitting at my desk. Also right next to my amps, so everything's kind of right here for any tweaking that I'm gonna do. And I've thought about getting some kind of amp switcher so that I can switch between my amps, because I have a 2x12 Marshall cab and then a Torpedo Live cab emulator that I record through. So an amp switcher would let me switch between amps and outputs without needing to rerun cables every time. But I found a handy little device here. This is made by Rattlesnake Cable Company. And right now I just have it Velcroed onto the side of the cabinet. So this is just a 4-way junction box. So all it does is take cable from one side and passes it through to another side. So all these colored cables are hooked up to the speaker outputs of all of my amps. So all I have to do to switch around amps is move these couple of cables. So this one goes to my Torpedo Live and the bottom one goes to my Marshall 212. And there is a speaker out jack inside the Blues Junior. It's kind of hard to access unless you take off the back panel. So I basically ran from the speaker out of the Blues Junior and just using it as an amp head instead of using the built-in speaker. So far, that is working great. It doesn't affect the sound at all. There's no added static sound, or it doesn't affect the volume level at all. I've compared it running through this box compared to just plugged in directly to the amp, and there was no difference at all. My plan is to use this cabinet sort of as just a guitar rig, unless I end up getting more outboard gear for mixing and recording stuff. So right now what's in it is an Ibanez DM2000 digital delay rack unit. It's kind of cool. Right now I just have it routed at the end of my pedal board after the last pedal and before the input of the amp. I would prefer to have it in the effects loop for ease of use, just so I can switch between amps and still use it. I just have it running into the front of the amp. I do have a Furman power conditioner on order waiting for it to get here. That will also go in here, so then all of my pedals and anything that gets mounted in this rack unit will run off of that, and that will help clean up some of the cable mess that there currently is. And behind this I just have some random storage, microphone stand, a light, nothing too exciting. And now for more of the workstation. I have a Warm Audio microphone boom arm mounted on the side of the desk. That's where I keep my broadcast style microphone. Occasionally I'll switch that out if I'm recording acoustic, put a condenser microphone on there. I do have an extra one of those boom arms for sale on my Reverb Shop, so if you check the links below, if you are interested in one, you can buy mine. Moving on from there, I am using Yamaha HS5 monitors. I have a 27-inch curved HP computer monitor, and I have Pro Tools pulled up there. That's what I'm running anytime I'm recording. And mounted in the desk, my audio interface is a Focusrite Scarlett 18i20 3rd generation. They just came out with a 4th generation, but it works pretty good. I'm not gonna pretend to have a good enough ear to notice if the preamps built in are good or not. Below that is my 2 Notes Torpedo Live, and that's my cab emulator. So for the most part, when I'm recording, I'm coming out of my amp speaker output into this and using this as a cab. And I still have this in the desk instead of over in the guitar rig, because I've been using the Torpedo Remote software to create some presets and get things set up for my different amps. So once I'm done with that, I will move that over so the presets will be just saved internally. And then on this side, got a Furman power conditioner. There's a DBX 2-channel compressor, but that actually doesn't work, so it never gets used. And then a Warm Audio WA76 single channel compressor. I've been using that a lot on my voice for any videos, and then if I'm like recording bass, I'll use it on the bass. And down here on my keyboard shelf, there's my Mac Mini. It has the M2 chip with 16 gigs of RAM. It works great for everything I've needed it for with all the video editing. And also my MIDI controller, the Arturia Minilab Mark II. And the desk itself is kind of just a cheap studio desk from Musea, I think is the brand. I have no complaints with it, but it's definitely not built to last. And if I were to move or anything, I'm not really sure how it would survive that. So as long as I stay here, I'll probably keep this desk. And over here in the corner is my Marshall 212. It's a closed back cab that I got with the Origin 20 head. And here's my guitar wall. If you haven't seen it yet, my last video was an in-depth tour of my guitar collection, so I'm not gonna go in-depth into that. I have a tiny little Fender bass amp that I never use anymore. Random guitar parts, empty boxes, extra pedals, and the guitar rack itself is a string swing 8-foot wall mount rail system that came with 8 guitar hangers, and then just because I have too many, I have a couple floor stands there. And because this is a basement, whoever finished it decided to frame around some ductwork in here, so it left me with kind of an awkward space here, but it ended up working out just perfect for my guitars. And I threw up some floating shelves just to put pedals so that they would be out of the way but still easy to access. If you've made it this far, thanks for watching all the way to the end. Hopefully this was helpful for some setup ideas or just inspiration for your own setup. I watched a lot of studio tour videos the last couple years before I started building this the way I wanted. And the most interesting ones are usually the home studios where somebody just has an extra room and they kind of, you know, they have what they have, so they have to make it work. Fortunately, this room is a decent size, so I'm not super crowded. If I moved my seating area out of here, I could fit, you know, an entire drum kit over there or something. But I don't plan on doing that because I don't play drums. But it's still a little bit awkward trying to figure out how to get things set up just right. I think with these recent changes, moving my amps and my pedals with the new cabinet that I built will make the playing and recording process just a little bit easier. It's one of those like quality of life upgrades. And if you're designing a layout, something like this, something that I didn't take into consideration at first that I've now corrected. I used to have my pedal board on the left side of my desk with my amp over there. And because I'm right-handed, my guitar cable was always getting tangled up in my chair, or I'd be rolling my wheels over top of it. So, you know, one of those lessons learned. I feel like I'm just rambling at this point, so I'm gonna end the video. Thanks for watching. If you're looking for more guitar stuff, go over to my channel and check it out. I've been putting out about 1 video a week recently, so if you'd like to see what's coming up, do me a favor and subscribe. And also like the video. That helps me out, helps it get seen a little bit more. Anywho, guitar room tour over.